All right, all right, all right. Welcome, Braylee. We are going to get started because we have a very special guest on. So guys, I'm just going to pull up all the achievements of Nathaniel because I could not possibly remember them, and I'm going to read them because they're just absolutely amazing. Alrighty, ranks #1 in Asia Pacific region on the Social Media Marketing Institute's top LinkedIn marketers list, and he won Best Use of LinkedIn at the Social Media Marketing Awards 2019. He is a two-time finalist for 2020 Social Media Marketing Awards for his campaigns Monday Night Live and LinkedIn versus Instagram. Bibby Consulting Group has generated over 400 million in sales through LinkedIn lead generation. His agency generates leads and run customized training programs to help businesses grow their brand and sales revenue via LinkedIn. Clients include Apple, Western Union, BT Financial Group, Choice Hotels, EFG Financial Group, Harvey Norman, Brian Tracy, Capital Group, Westpac. Oh my gosh, there is so much. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we would love to welcome tonight Nathanial Bibby.
Thank you, thank you. Oh, it's so strange hearing that stuff, but thank you. Thank you for a very kind introduction, very thoughtful.
Well, very well done to you. As I said, we are all so excited to have you join us today. It is a really humble experience to hear your wisdom today. You have built such an amazing emporium on LinkedIn, and I think it's safe to say that not many people have created what you have created. And I, of course, stalked your website, and I have so many questions. So if it's okay, I would love to ask you a few questions first.
Yeah.
And then hopefully we can open questions to the group at the end. Is that okay?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Amazing. So Nathaniel, a lot of our teammates here are at the startup phase. Let's say the first 12 to 18 months of business. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. And I know that you have a very special story of how you started your business. Yeah. Would you mind sharing the very original story of where you started?
Sure. I guess, like, I think that in life we either need inspiration or desperation in order to make massive changes. And I got desperation. I was working for a company that was growing incredibly fast, was given an opportunity to list on the stock market. I was running the sales team. I was generating most of my leads through LinkedIn marketing. At that point, I was a member of a business networking international group. I don't know if any of you have come across BNI. And then I got up like while I had this job, and I said, "Oh, look, guys, I'm resigning." They said, "Why are you leaving?" And I said, "Oh, look, I'm just getting so many leads through LinkedIn. This just does not good use of my time anymore." And so after the session, a group of them came up to me and they said, "Nathaniel, we'd love to pay you for you to teach us how you get leads on LinkedIn. So much so that you don't want to be in the networking group anymore." Anyway, this company that I was working for went belly up. There was a lot of politics, and they couldn't pay me in 3 months, and so I was in $20,000 worth of debt. I had my first eviction notice warning in my letterbox that day. I quit my job basically because of the politics, and I was pretty stressed. And then, as I'm sitting in my living room trying to work out what I'm going to do to get out of this financial mess, the electricity, when the sun went down, I went to turn the lights on, the electricity was cut out as well. And, so I thought, oh, this is pretty shit. I'm going to have to call my mum. Call my mum. My mum said, like, "I'm not helping you." Dad said, "I'm not helping you. He's got his own stuff he's dealing with." So I was like almost having a panic attack. But that night, I brainstormed all these different ideas. And when you're in sales, it's very hard to go out and get a new sales job and make all this revenue immediately. You need to build up your reputation, get some leads, et cetera, et cetera. So my solution was to start a company the next day. So I basically went straight onto LinkedIn, started booking appointments, and made 15 grand in my first day of business. And the rest is history. It kind of just grew from there. Had 9 people working for me within about 6 months. That's a whole other story. I did grow quite fast at the start, but big dreams, big goals of taking over the world, but my goals have shifted a lot since then. But we were the first LinkedIn specialist agency to start up in Australia. There were a couple of people doing it in the US, but we were the first in Australia. And so, working out the service, how it looks, because no one's done it before, and working with such a wide range of different businesses has given me the experience to now go on and win awards. Now they give awards for people that do LinkedIn stuff. So, it's been fantastic that I fell into this niche. I think, when you do specialize in something, you can get to the top where, you are winning awards and things like that, which is not necessarily as easy to do if you're, just a marketing strategist that does every platform, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
So amazing, such amazing story. And I think it just makes it, your achievements are so extraordinary, and it just makes it so much extra special that you also once upon a time had your own human-like struggles that were very common to the rest of us.
I haven't got all the answers.
Yeah, it's really amazing. Look, I also want to thank you so much for sharing that. I want to ask you a question about everything that you are offering. Just by having a look at your website, it is so clear to me that the value that you give away, give out, not only through the website, all your free downloadables that are, it just seems like even just by downloading everything that you offer from your website, there is just so much value in it. Like, it's impossible not to move forward in creating sales through LinkedIn. But on top of that, you do your podcast and your LinkedIn sessions. There's just so much.
Yeah, thank you. It's really nice to hear.
I
wish it was that easy, right? But you would know this, but 90% of the people consume the content and go and have a sandwich. That don't do anything. So, as educators, as coaches, as content creators, we're always constantly thinking, how do I make it easier for them to execute? And so, I think it's valuable. I think the content's really valuable, but I still think, I'm always thinking, how do I make it better or easier for them to implement? And that's really the challenge, I think, that we all face with.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, because that was actually the particular question that I had. What is your reason behind creating so much and giving that purely as a value on social media? Because so many people worry about, how much do I give away? Like, what do I charge for this service or for this thing that I created? Whenever we create a document or a program, it's so precious to us because it's our baby. But it's so clear to me that you have such abundance mindset, and you just create it, give it all purely to help people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it very much is your mindset. It's about, like, if you've got a scarcity mindset, it doesn't work very well in business. Abundant mindset does. And I've never experienced like a scenario where I give away, the more I give away, and you think, they don't need me anymore, like the more business I've got. And I've seen this happen, and I've kind of, it's not been 100% clear to me, but then I stumble across people like Gary Vaynerchuk, who's saying this from the stage, and I could see how it wouldn't make sense if you're not doing it. But when I hear it, I'm like, okay, one person is telling me that what I'm doing makes sense, because everyone else is literally, when I started creating videos, everybody was telling me, what are you doing spending all your time? Look at Nathaniel spending all his time doing videos. He must really need attention, And I'm thinking, is that what I'm doing here? Is there something wrong with me? Am I just doing this to get attention? Like, literally, like, I spent a year doing that, questioning myself, but I stuck at it. I don't know why I stuck at it, but I did. And then I started to see the results, and then everybody turns around and says, you're so lucky, Nathaniel. You're so clever. But that's not the feedback I was getting at the time at all. So it's a very, like, I think if you're going to do it, it's a very long-term strategy to build your brand. But I do think that it's a great asset to have in a business. I think it's worth a lot more than financial assets. I think it's worth more than owning land, business assets. It's something that you can take with you into a terrible economy. We're sort of in a global depression. We're about to head into one. But you're not going to but the bank's not going to take my brand away from me. So I think it's something that separates you, that you can be quite nimble with. So worth investing in. I think it's a big asset to the business. And email databases as well, which is interesting. Everyone used to be like, oh, 20,000 email addresses on your email list. On average, like these days, 30% of them are expired within a year. So people change their email addresses that often, and they're not actually worth very much at all. Most people's database, the majority of it's just rubbish. And so social media is actually way more valuable to have a follow-up, because even if they change their email address, they still have the same social media profile. So it's a lot more valuable to have an audience than it is an actual subscriber to your email list.
So a lot has changed in business, because 10 years ago, everybody wanted to have a massive email list. And these days, what you're saying is all about having the brand and social media presence.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and not everyone sees that, like I still get businesses call me up and say, I've been given an opportunity to buy 100,000 database, should I do it? And I say, well, that just means nothing to me. There's a good chance it's worth absolutely nothing, but I don't know what it's worth. All I know is that social media it's really valuable to have access to those people. But if you can't, if you don't know how to build a relationship with them in the first place, you don't actually care about them enough to think about how you're actually going to add value to their lives, it's not really worth anything, to be honest. You're just going to interrupt 100,000 people. They're all going to get pissed off and block you, and that's going to be it. So social media is only valuable to have a lot of followers if you either have a relationship with them already, or how to build a relationship with them. I think understanding your audience has become way more important than it was maybe 5-10 years ago. I think now customers expect so much more. They really do. Their expectations are so much higher. And if you're going to be doing content marketing, you're literally you're marketing to people that don't even know who you are or have an awareness that they need your service. So you got to really understand the audience so that you're not annoying them by talking about yourself and what you do all the time.
Which we also love doing, don't we?
Yeah, that's what it's lovely to do these kind of things when people ask me questions, but most of the time when I'm posting on social media, I'm not thinking about what I want to tell people. I'm thinking about where they're going to see the value. It's not just about what I think they need. It's about what do they understand already. Because you can only really tell them what they already know or what they already know they want to know. If you say you need to know this, they're just going to switch off. They have to understand that they want to know about it.
And so true. And I know that one of the tools that you are offering is 120 ways on how to write content.
Oh, the content ideas, yeah.
Yeah, that's so amazing. So you are a content king. You have done it all. You have done written posts. You've got podcasts. It's the audio, the video.
Well, yeah.
Now that you probably get a lot of questions like, you could do it all again. What mistakes would you share? But I don't want to ask about that.
Love that. Yeah, so I would.
Okay, go ahead then.
I would literally make more mistakes quicker. That's the thing I would have done differently. That's the only thing, because I only ever learned anything through messing up. And these days, I try and post as much as I can, because I just constantly want to be getting feedback from the audience to what they're interested in, what's working. There's nothing that I have no negative feeling if I put a post up and it gets no likes. I don't care at all. It doesn't matter. No one's seeing it anyway. I've learned one way that doesn't work. So I don't get sensitive about it. Whereas before, I remember very clearly doing 20 takes of one video. And, if I look back at it today, is take 20 better than take one? I don't know. Maybe. It's subjective, right? Whereas these days, I'm like, this is the value, put it out, post it. I learn something from the audience. I also practice more because I'm doing it more. So I think that everyone wants to get it perfect. And I think that perfection is a form of procrastination. I just think that, while you're sitting there thinking about whether or not someone is going to like this, you could be actually getting real feedback and learning from your audience and getting better.
Mic drop. So important. So important.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question about, before we also open questions for the rest of the group. Otherwise, I'll be the only one talking. That would be way too boring for you. I want to ask you a question. If you could maybe you know, take all your wisdom and knowledge and your experience, but put it now in 2020, a person who is starting the business, you know, maybe a person, I've got to be honest with you, most of our group has been working Facebook and Instagram most of the time. And PJ and we are now encourage them to also go on LinkedIn, because it's such an amazing platform. So 2020, startup business, what would be, I don't know, like your 1, 2, 3 pieces of advice?
Yeah. So
right now?
I'm glad you asked that. With a startup, the most important thing is sales revenue. You need cash in the business. It's really important. So with social media, it can be a distraction if you're looking at your newsfeed or creating content, because you know you can do that all day long and not make any money. So I would focus first of all on having a system to generate leads, that book a sales appointments, that close deals, so that you've got revenue sorted. And you don't have to do it through social media. You could do it through AdWords, but if you are going to do it through social media and you're in business to business, LinkedIn's a great way to do it. But you don't do it through posting content. You do it by connecting with, say, you send 50 customized connection requests every day to people that are in your target audience, directors of accountancy firms in Sydney, for example, that have got 10 employees or less, if that's your target audience, and you reach out to them and you say, hey, you're an accountant. I do a lot of work with accountants. I'd love to find out more about your business. I'm interested in having a call with you. Are you free for a chat? You just send them that message. So you're getting appointments, and then from those appointments, you ask the right questions. If you're helping them with addiction, but like this, I'm curious. Have you ever had any of these issues or something like that? But you're asking questions to find out if they have the problem that you solve. Because if they don't, then the chances are they're not the right client for you. Maybe you can refer them somewhere else. But you're only asking questions. It's not like those messages you see on LinkedIn where people say, hey, did you know that we can get you to the top of Google, and we've looked at your website and you're currently ranking here, and we can rank you there, and you should work with it. Like, they're selling to somebody that hasn't established a need yet. They don't know that they want to know about SEO. They may not even want more clients. You don't know if it's the right timing for them. There's a lot of things. So you have enough empathy to ask for the calls for the purpose of asking them questions to learn more about them. And then if they have the problem that you solve, then you can do business with them. And I think that's a great way to underpin your social media, because you can say, okay, every month I'm getting 20 appointments from doing this. I'm closing 5 deals from doing this. But then I'm going to spend the rest of my time creating content that adds value to the wider community, so that when I get on these calls, they know me, they like me, they trust me. And to be honest, you'll be getting so many inbound leads eventually, but not immediately, but eventually, that you won't need to do the outreach anymore. And every time you connect with another accountant, if that's your target audience, they're coming into your audience. So there's another person that's going to see your content. As long as it's adding value, and every time you post something, it's something that's like helping them along their customer journey, and you're not selling to them, you're not taking it for granted, and you're not sending them messages saying, hey, I've got a discount this month and all that sort of stuff. As long as you're doing it like that, you're building a relationship with these people, and when they are ready to do business with you, they will. A startup that does that, it starts a business like that, has a fantastic foundation to build from there and employ people and have long-term success in business. I think that there's too many startups that don't have a system for generating leads to generate revenue, and so they're stuck and they can't grow. And I think, so that would be my best advice.
And it's amazing. Thank you so much. The amazingness of it sits in the simplicity, but also how genuine it is. Just making connections and ultimately resolving problems of people who need help.
And I think business is very psychological, right? Like we all know this. We learn so much about ourselves, and I think quite often, if somebody is not doing something in business, like the sales calls or the outreach, there's probably a different reason other than the one that they present. It might be that they're actually fear of rejection, or they don't want to make the calls, and that's more often than not what the issue actually is. I've spoken to businesses that are like a month away from going under, and they got a wife and 2 kids. And after asking enough questions, they're like, what do I do? What do I post, Nathaniel? I need your help. At the end of it, we find out that they've had 20 leads in the last week, and none of them have been called. And I'm like, what the hell? And he goes, oh yeah, I've been trying to get around to that. I'm thinking, then this is so common. It really is. With small businesses. I think that business, capacity to grow, it really comes down to the psychology of the owner.
So good. And I feel like PJ and I say this so often, that business is 90% psychology, 10% strategy.
Yeah. We're so lucky we get the opportunity to go into an area where we can fail and learn, and grow, and learn more about ourselves. I think, we don't really learn any of that stuff at school. It's quite, I find it really, really rewarding.
Yeah, amazing. All right, I think that it's now time that we open time for questions for everybody. So I bet that a few of you are already jumping up and down. Twitter is like, all right, JJ. Well, it looks like you're going first.
Bro, what for the starters on the call? What is the psychology? If you take yourself back, what psychology do you use, or did you use, when you were like, shit, I want this to all happen now. Like, I want it to happen now. What did you use?
Yeah, I still catch myself doing that a lot. I went through a bit of a funk a couple of weeks ago doing that. Lost quite a few clients in a short period of time. I was not anticipating it. I didn't, a lot of it was outside my control, but like kind of COVID changed things and I just didn't anticipate it. And I noticed I started doing things that were not a bit out of character, like I did a webinar and I pitched at the end of it and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, hang on a second, like if I was my client, and so most of the time when I'm getting in a funk like that, it's because I'm either being impatient and I want everything to happen now, or I'm being selfish and I'm focusing on what I want and not on what the audience wants. And I'm pretty quick to pull myself up on it. I think that in COVID, I probably mixed with entrepreneurs less, but that meant the Instagram specialist you mentioned, Brooke Valinovich, we had a beer and I told her about it and she's like, well, and I like just talking to you, I just realized I'm doing exactly the opposite of what I would advise somebody to do. I'm not thinking about the audience. I'm being selfish. I'm being impatient. And so, and then all you do is you literally block out, when you're working, you block out your own needs and your own things that you need to take care of just for that time period, whatever time period you allocate to it. And you focus solely on the consumer's needs and the audience's needs. And if you do that, in my experience, all of the problems just one by one solve themselves. It's absolutely crazy. Like it's literally been 2 weeks and all the clients are replaced. Everything's fine. It's just purely to do with psychology and mindset.
That's so proper. And I hope that the one person that I'm pointing the finger at, I hope she was listening.
We all do it, all of us.
Yeah, we all do it. I love the
business entrepreneurs of really big businesses, and they do it as well. Some more than smaller businesses.
And I love the way that you said put it aside just for that sort of 5, 10, 20 minutes, 2 hours, whatever your time blocked it for, you can put it aside. Because at the end of the day, there's no harm in looking in the mirror when you're by yourself and you could just go, look, I know that I'm fucking nailing it. I just got to stay on track for me. You can give yourself that reassurance a little bit later. Okay, so another question, and I know it's for one of the guys this time on here, which is only another one of us, so I'm sure he'll know who it is. What do you do as far as confidence, Nathaniel? When you go back to startup phase, what's your biggest key tip for confidence in getting on the calls or getting on webinars and stuff?
Yeah, look, obviously once you've worked out what you want, then it's just a matter of putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. There's no quick hack to become confident at something that you haven't got experience doing. I am naturally a very, very, very nervous and bad public speaker. I wanted to be a public speaker all my life. I saw my dad doing it. I did my first talk when I was 17 because my dad couldn't turn up in front of a bunch of investors. But I knew nothing. I read the slides and then I said, what do I do if someone asks me a question at the end, Dad? He goes, oh, just say this. The question you should be asking me is, where's the smart money going? And then say China. And I got asked like 5 questions at the end and I kept repeating the same thing. And then when a guy comes up to me afterwards, 17 years old, he goes, I really like how you hammered home the point about China at the end there. So it's just a matter of making a lot of mistakes. And so I made a deal with myself probably when I started my business, so probably about 10 years ago, that if I ever have the opportunity to speak in front of an audience and I can do it, you know, from a logistics point of view, I do it always. It doesn't matter what I'm getting paid. Doesn't matter how many people are there. It doesn't matter if I got home at 6 o'clock that morning and I've had a half an hour's sleep. That's happened a few times. My commitment is that I go, because the more I do it, the better I will get, you know, than the next person. I think it was Tony Robbins that wanted to become the best speaker in the world, and he looked at who was the best speaker in the world, and he got in touch with him, and he said, how often do you speak? And he said twice a week. And he goes, in his head, he goes, okay, so if I speak 5 times a day, in 2 years, I'll have more experience than him. And that's what he did. You know, sometimes there's only 1 or 2 people in the audience, but he is the best speaker in the world. And so I think competence builds confidence. I'm still can be very nervous or anxious in certain situations, but as soon as I know my shit so well that as soon as I start talking, I'm absolutely fine. Because I can always fall back on the fact that I know my stuff so well. I might not be that present, or I might not be that engaging, but at the end of the day, I know my stuff, and I think that that just comes with time. I think, you know, yeah. So just not being afraid to fail. Well, not being, you're still going to be afraid to fail, but just be okay with the fact that it's not going to be, you know, perfect at the start. It may never be, but the way to get there is by having these experiences along the way. I think you should be more concerned about not trying than completely fucking it up, and, you know, putting the slides on and a bloody porn video comes up or something ridiculous like that. It's better than not doing anything, because at least you've tried, you've had an experience, you've learned something. I only use that example because there's actually quite a few speakers that have had that happen to them. You'd be surprised.
That actually doesn't surprise me. Actually, that's true. Okay, so all up, how long have you been doing your business?
10 years. Yeah, we celebrated 10 years about a month ago.
10 years. So first of all, congratulations. 10 years. That's really good. And I just hope, like, obviously for the recording and for anyone that's listening, 10 years, like, just think about that for a second. 10 years is not a short time. And I'm guessing, Nathaniel, you are probably just like every other entrepreneur out there that thinks with that mindset of, I'm never going to stop. Is that right?
Never going to stop being an entrepreneur. I think,
or never going to stop thinking about growing in some way.
Yeah. Oh, I think if I get to the point where I'm not adding value to people's lives, I'll probably stop. I think there's nothing worse in life when you're like putting all your energy and effort into something and, you know, it's not being received. So I think until they come up to me and at the end of the talk and say, do you know what, Nathaniel, that was shit. That wasn't helpful. Unless I can do something about it, I'll probably stop then. But I think that at the moment, what's happening is technology was already changing faster than, you know, every year. But with COVID, like, it's just been ridiculous. Like, businesses have had to become digitally capable within a very short period of time, or face going under. And that's really why I do what I do, is to help businesses from experiencing that and going through, you know, what could be like going bankrupt or losing your business can be one of the most traumatic events for a family. Like when I was growing up, my dad had some issues as well with his business, and so I know what it's like. And I think that technology is just going to, as disruption continues, it's going to take so many companies out. And so as that happens, the need for people like me to be here just grows. It becomes more of a responsibility. So, you know, I think at the moment, like, it's going to be a busy road ahead. Yeah.
All right, amazing. Okay, guys, well, here we go. Let's not waste any more time. Alison, go girl.
Thanks, Nathaniel. Awesome to have you here and learn from your.
There's more people here. Sorry, I've just scrolled down and seen a few more of you. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so thanks for being here and sharing your wisdom with us. So my question is very basic. As a LinkedIn expert, what would be your main tips for getting our profile up there and being visible and making the connections, you know, apart from content or even content?
And so the first thing is it depends on the objective. So like if you're looking at to advance your career, I think most guys here are business owners. So like if we look at it from a client-facing perspective, it's very important that you don't do what it may seem like the logical thing to do is when you set up a profile is that you put a version of your resume up there. You know, if we're looking to engage customers, we want to avoid giving somebody a version of our CV. That's not going to do anything to encourage them to employ our services or buy products from us. In fact, it's going to be a very boring piece of content. So like we want to make sure that we explain, you know, the people that we help and our unique value proposition, very similar to what we would on a website, but in a way that's a bit more personal to the audience. So if I'm in the target audience and we'll go back to, well, let's say I'm a dentist, you know, in Sydney and that's who you target. If I'm a dentist, like I'm going to want to be able to tell straight away from looking at the profile that you know, you help people like me, and then what the problem is that you help me with, and then what I can do next if I want to, you know, get in touch with you. I think too many business profiles, so LinkedIn personal profiles, they're like, okay, I started my career in this, and then like I traveled here, and I've done this. Got list all the things off instead of thinking about what the consumer wants, what they're interested in right now, and making that the forefront of the profile. So that's one thing. Social proof is a very big part of social media. So if people can see that other people have engaged with you or do business with you, or there's a lot of ways you can do it. It makes them feel safer doing business with you. There's a lot of distrust online at the moment. So if you can get recommendations or endorsements, make the profile interactive by having like media on there, that's going to make a big difference. And if you can, try and get your audience or your clients or your business partners to do most of the selling for you, so that when you're writing your profile, you're saying, you know, I'm Nathaniel, I'm really passionate about helping business owners, you know, transform their future through, you know, digital transformation or whatever. This is why I do what I do. If I tell them why I do what I do, they're more likely to trust me, rather than saying, oh, you know, these are the results I get for clients. And I'm almost like being a bit of a wanker. I don't know if I could use that word on here, but like, if you can avoid trying to sell yourself and talk more about, you know, why you're passionate about what you do, you'll come across a lot more trustworthy. Yeah, so setting up the profile, make sure you follow all of the steps that, you know, you need to, that LinkedIn keeps suggesting, like, you know, location, education, all that stuff will help you visibility. And then it's about building your network so that you get over 500 connections, because what happens is if you can, and you want to do it in a targeted way, but like just be proactive about getting over 500, because when you get to 500, if you send someone a connection request before you get to 500, you may find that only about 20%, 25% of people accept the invitation. Whereas if you send somebody a connection request after you've got over 500 connections and it says 500 plus on your profile, the conversion rate will almost double, because people want to be connected to connected people. You know, we all say that we don't, but the vanity metrics do matter. And so you want to get above that milestone so people see you as an established brand and that you know this, you know, some of the same people they do and stuff like that. So I think, you know, setting up the profile so that it's geared towards your target audience, and then inviting your target audience to connect with you are the first two steps that one person needs to take on when they're setting up their LinkedIn presence. Does that help?
Thank you. That was awesome.
No worries. I have got a checklist on my website. If you go to the website and go to the resources section, there's a profile optimization checklist that might be handy when you're completing your profile.
Thank you.
No worries.
Thank you so much. We will definitely pop the link to your website, Nathaniel, in our chat box. Oh, there it is, Tintin. Thank you so much. Already done. It's already there. So you guys definitely need to go and check Nathaniel and what he's offering there. All right.
Put on gallery view so I can see everybody now. Someone just said it because I said that.
You would have seen all the smiley faces throughout the whole chat today.
Yeah.
All right, who's next, guys?
Can we do a little photo for my Instagram story?
Oh my gosh, of course. And I was going to ask, can we screenshot this when you're ready?
Yeah.
What do you want? Do you want us to like make our special faces? We're very good at that.
Okay, special faces sounds good.
Oh no.
All right, everybody, put your hands up and go crazy. Look like you're having the time of your life. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. That's awesome.
I'm glad we didn't do special faces because, you know, we couldn't stand it. Yeah, I know.
Any more questions?
Pardon?
Any questions?
I was going to ask any more, guys, one more question and then Nathaniel will have to shoot.
Nathaniel, the biggest tip that you can give for like networking and reaching out to people who you might think, oh, they're too up there for me. So for example, myself, if I was to reach out to Shay Rowbottom, I know that Shay just sends me her PA and I never get to speak to her. What's
really?
like the tip to, yeah.
Yeah, tell her that. Well, I actually can't really say anything. Can't name me. I don't have a. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now. But that, so, like, I get what you're saying, and it's about adding value. So this is part of the reason why I started LinkedIn Heroes, which won the award last year. You know, it's if you approach somebody and you say, hey, you know, like if you're like a kid, you can get away with it. You're like, you're inspiring. Can I buy you a coffee? Like if you're starting out your career, it actually works. But otherwise, you've got to find more ways to add value. And so a podcast is a great way to do it. But most people just start a podcast and they think that that's enough, you know. And it's you got to think about like, okay, but how do I make this podcast actually add? Like they're not trying to trick somebody into it. They're trying to actually add value. A good example is Kerwin Ray, right? I only mentioned Kerwin because he's somebody that I pursued for a long time. Like when he said, yeah, let's do the interview, you know, this is my assistant's number or whatever. I looked through my Facebook history of our chat and it's just like me asking, hey, what about now? You ready yet? Are you going to do the interview yet? Are you ready yet? No reply for like 2 years. And then that's not just Facebook, it's Instagram, LinkedIn as well. Just been hounding this guy. And then he says yes. And I'm like, oh, it's so cool to look at that. But like, all that I did differently is I found a way to actually add value to what he's doing. It's quite easy to reach these people. And so if you build an audience, that's one thing that's valuable. A lot of these guys want to create content as well. So if you can make content assets that you can give them, that's going to add value to their audience, and that's worthwhile doing as well. And then, you know, the guys will do this. They'll go through the trouble of actually creating this awesome content, but then they will like want to put their face and their logo all over it. I'm actually talking about just doing this for these people, you know, and making it as easy for them as possible. A lot of people say we got to do the podcast this way on this time. Most guys, if you're interviewing them, like if you can do it in person, like with a professional videographer, that's pretty awesome content that's going to be really valuable to them. When I did Grant Cardone, like flew to Sydney at the drop of a hat. I had to fly the next morning. I just got back from Sydney. Hired a videographer on the way, went straight to him, and there's very little shots of me actually in the video at all. Because my microphone wasn't working for one thing, there's no like sale. There's no return on investment for that for me at all. It's just a brand building exercise. I did say to Grant afterwards, I said, it's quite an investment for me to fly here. I think it'd be not nice if you became a client to make it worth my while. And so it actually, we went down the track of meeting this sales manager and it wasn't a good fit for his business to work with us. But like, how else am I going to sell to Grant Cardone unless I find a way to add value to him and get that, opportunity in the first place? And just quickly, I started a CMO podcast, Chief Marketing Officer podcast, solely for the reason of getting in front of chief marketing officers. Like, they're very difficult to get in touch with, but they don't get interviewed very often. And so like I do that, and it builds their credibility, and I don't even tell them what I do. And then after the interview, oh, but Nathaniel, you're such a great guy. What do you do? Oh, funny you should ask. We help businesses like yours with their LinkedIn marketing. Are you on LinkedIn? Oh, it's like, I want to fix that. Yeah, let's get you in to train our whole team. That's how it works. So that's just one strategy. But if you're just thinking about like how to add value to the person you're contacting, at the end of the day, that's how you how do you get a meeting with anyone? There's no one you can't reach if you can add value to them.
That's a really good point. And I think what made me think about Shay was because during the week I saw one of her really good posts, and I think it had something to do with it was like start of the week. And anyway, start of last week, I wrote in the post, I added something regarding the post.
Yeah.
And then she actually replied. So I was like, oh yeah. So that just made me think of, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. They want a close relationship with their audience. What they don't want to do is give up their time for people that's trying to just get something, you know.
Amazing. Amazing.
Thank you, man.
So
Thank you
many
very much.
wisdom bombs.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nathaniel. Thank you so much. Good job. Just before we go, is that okay if I take a little sneaky screenshot of us?
Yeah.
Can we all look super happy again? Okay, that's a good one. Thank you so much, Nathaniel. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you and hearing all about your successes. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
Thanks very much, guys. Appreciate it.
Enjoy your live TV.
See you, mate. Thank you.
See you, mate.